Welcome in, everybody. Thursday edition of Morning Jocks. Conrad Van Order and Damian Mitchell here with you on another rainy morning here in the Birmingham area. Just when we thought that we were done with the rain and it was just going to be honestly hot as heck for the foreseeable future, it decides that it's gonna rain. So be weather aware if you are out and about early this morning on your way to work. Appreciate you tuning in to us, but make sure that you stay safe out there on the roads. And want to give a quick shout out to everybody that made it out to the Edge in Homewood last night. So we, myself, Pat Smith, Landrum Roberts, Molly Robinson, we were all out there for the NBA draft, doing a special event with the Birmingham Squadron. So it was cool to get to meet their head coach, TJ Saint, and talk to some of the Squadron people and kind of pick their brains about the draft and, players that, we'll get into, what the Pelicans did and things like that. But, kind of talking through, hey, probably not the guy we get in the, top 10, but, a player that we draft later in the first round. You might see him in Birmingham this year. Obviously, whatever the Pelicans do today in round 2, those are guys that you would expect to see in Birmingham this year for the Squadron. But just a cool event. Appreciate all of you that were able to come out, say hello, and enjoy some of that entertainment. And the Edge is really cool in Homewood if you've never been. Just first time I'd ever been there, but you got a little wine bar, you got restaurants, you got shopping, you got all that good stuff, all in a very cool little courtyard area, which will be great this fall for watching college football, no doubt about it. So appreciate everyone that came out last night, had a great time out there, and we were all not surprised when Cooper Flagg was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I think I saw a couple days ago it was minus 50,000 if you wanted to place a bet on Cooper Flagg to go number 1 overall. So
the old heavy favorite.
yeah, so I don't. I'm just trying to do that in my head. I guess what if you bet $100 on him to go first overall, you win what 5 cents, something like that. So yeah, I mean it was set in stone. We all knew what was going to happen. It was more a question of what was going to happen at 2, and really it was more so 3 because a lot of people expected Dylan Harper from Rutgers to go 2nd overall, and he did. To the San Antonio Spurs. But you had, just from, the crowd and while we were watching the draft unfold last night, you had, I, I don't know if you would say a huge shock, but there were a lot of people when Con Knippel from Duke went 4th overall. A lot of people that went, well, oh, wow, okay. Like, yeah, I mean, you remember watching him. Obviously, I think a lot of people, remember Cooper Flagg above all else, but watching Knippel and what he was able to do in the NCAA tournament run for Duke was obviously very, very impressive there. You did have a pair of SEC players go early on as well. Well, you actually had 3, but you had Trey Johnson from Texas. So he was the leading scorer actually in the SEC this year. He goes to the Wizards at 6. Then the New Orleans Pelicans that we were just talking about, they take Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma at 7 overall. And then you also had Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina go 9th overall to the Raptors. And that one, if you missed it on television, he did not want to be a Toronto Raptor.
Yeah, he dropped the old word that he kind of explained how his emotions were when Toronto selected him.
Yeah, you could immediately tell it was like, I can't say what he said or what it appeared that he said, but yeah, it was very obvious that Toronto was maybe the last place that he wanted to go, but that's where he's going to be playing basketball and getting his paychecks for the foreseeable future. So you had 3 SEC guys go in the top 10, which was nice to see. You had so many trades. I mean, I'm not kidding you, whether it was after a player was selected and then they got traded, or just picks being traded from picks 13 all the way down to 27. Every single pick from 13 to 27 was either the pick was traded beforehand or after the pick was initially made, and then they traded the rights to that player to another team. So it was just nonstop. Every time Adam Silver came to the podium, it felt like he had some sort of trade news going on there. But you had Walter Clayton Jr. He got drafted by the Wizards, so he ends up getting traded. But he ends up getting traded to the Utah Jazz. So there's a little bit more of your SEC flavor there. Asa Newell, he had he got drafted by the Pelicans, but then he got traded to Atlanta after that pick was selected. And of course, he played his ball there at Georgia. You had Danny Wolf, who I know a lot of us remember from that Yale team a couple of years ago. He goes in the first round to the Brooklyn Nets. So maybe that makes you feel a little bit better if you're an Auburn fan, right? It's, hey, it was Yale, but hey, they had a future first round pick on their team. Yeah, that makes you feel maybe a little bit better in hindsight. But of course, for us here in the state, we're all waiting to see, and we knew it was going to ultimately be today, right? That you were going to see Janai Broome, Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, those kinds of guys ultimately hope to hear their name called in the NBA draft. And just as it stands right now, I'm looking at ESPN, and according to their experts, they're best available for day 2 of the draft. So you have some SEC flavor here at the top. You have Thero from Arkansas, Edu Thero. He's the 4th best available. Chaz Lanier from Tennessee. He's the 8th best player available. And then you have Janai Broome. He is currently listed as the 10th best player left on the board by ESPN. And then you're going to have to scroll down a little bit more, and you're going to have to go over to page number 2. And that is where you are going to see that Mark Sears and Grant Nelson are the 31st and 32nd best available players according to ESPN. So might be a little while before you hear one of their names called. And the reality is you may not hear either of their names called, or you may hear one of them called and the other one will fall just short. So we'll see what happens there with Mark Sears and Grant Nelson later today. But Janai Broome absolutely expected to go somewhere in the 40s. So a lot of people I know, from a couple days ago, you had the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Clippers. Those were some of the teams that had been projected to pick up Janai Broome. So we will see how that goes for him. But I thought it was, fairly entertaining last night. I'll be honest. I didn't think they could have had a better panel.
Yeah.
They could have had a better panel. I did think the emotion of everything was cool, getting to see all the kids and their parents get emotional and all that. And they really talked that up on ESPN. But yeah,
did you notice that
panel left something to be desired?
Did you see Malik Andrews called
Cedric Coward,
Colin Coward.
Yeah, that was
I did a double take because I was like, "There's no way this happened."
Oh yeah,
like when I watched it live, I was like, "I know I heard what I thought I heard. I know without a shadow of a doubt that she just said Colin Coward."
Yeah,
and it was
And if you that was because that was actually the kid that Alabama was going after.
Yeah,
a couple months ago, and then you're like, "Oh, I see why you went to the draft. You're the 11th overall pick."
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was funny. Colin Coward posted a picture of himself photoshopped in a Trailblazers jersey last night. So that was funny. You had Kendrick Perkins, who I forgot what pick it was exactly. It was like the 15th pick or somebody, and they were asking him, what he thought. He's like, I don't really know what's still on the board right now. And it's like, dude, you're halfway through the first round and you've ran out of information. People are like, "Come on, Perk! Like, you got 15 picks left to go, big dog."
Right, like names just coming off the board. Like, oh, he sounds familiar.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah, so it certainly left something to be desired there. I think from some of the analysis that they offered, but it's always cool to get to see these moments and life-changing moments for these kids and their families, and that's always awesome. So we'll see what happens in day 2 with Janai Broome, Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, and anybody else from here locally. But that is a recap of day 1, round 1 of the NBA draft. And again, if you are just now joining us, Cooper Flag did go first overall. No big surprise there. We also had a big night in Major League Baseball last night. So you had an opportunity for some teams got a little bit of revenge last night. So my Yankees finally got back on the right track against your Reds, Damian. So after taking 2 of 3 from the Yankees over the last couple of days, New York comes back. They win 7-1 last night. Max Fried becomes the first pitcher in Major League Baseball to 10 wins. So definitely a free agent signing that's paying off right now for the Yankees. And I'm sure if you're a Braves fan, you're maybe a little upset, but it's okay. We're paying him for a long time. I'm sure it'll come back to bite us. You also had the Cubs that took out the Cardinals 8-0. Cardinals had taken 2 in a row from the Cubbies, so they get revenge in a big way with an 8-1 or 8-0 win last night. And then of course you have your Atlanta Braves, who are undefeated this season against the New York Mets. That is the team that Atlanta loves to play, and well, until last night, because they also got their revenge on the Braves after losing the first 2 games of the series. The Mets win last night 7-3. So Clay Holmes goes 5 innings, only gives up 1 earned run for New York last night. Again, you have Fuentes on the mound for the Braves, who had just gotten called up last week. So this was his second start. And he got roughed up. Only 3 1/3 innings, gave up 6 earned run, 8 hits to the Mets last night. So a rough outing for him, as he's still kind of getting his feet under him at the major league level. And Clay Holmes doing his thing for the Mets. And that was kind of all that she wrote there. You did have Michael Harris Jr. rob a home run. That was cool. If you are looking for kind of your highlights there, Drake Baldwin did hit a solo home run in the 4th inning. Acuna had an RBI single late to kind of make things look a little bit closer. But ultimately, the Braves fall 7-3. Juan Soto hit 2 home runs for the Mets last night. And so they will play game 4 of that set tonight at 6:10. You'll be able to hear that right here on Jox. And the Braves now 37-42 overall on the season. They currently sit 9.5 games back in the National League East. The Mets now just half a game back of the Philadelphia Phillies there. And if you're wondering about the wild card, 6.5 would be your number in the wild card. So
tell me there's a chance.
Yes, there is a slightly worse chance than there was 24 hours ago, but yes, there's still a chance. So if that's if you're still talking yourself into it, I understand. I get it. You want something to believe in, and if you Fangraphs, if you buy into that thing, they still believe the Braves are going to win 84, 85 games. So I don't know if I would believe that, but hey, if that's something that you want to believe, then
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
So be it. Absolutely. So they just have to, according to Landrum, if they go 20-10 every month for the rest of the season, they'll be in a good spot.
That's one way to put it.
So you have to be arguably the best team in baseball every month for the rest of the season, and we'll see how that plays out. But
they say it can't be done.
Yeah.
There's
a reason for that. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd love to see it. It'd be awesome. But I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one. So that's everything you missed from last night across Major League Baseball as well as the NBA draft as we await the selection of Janai Brew, Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, and others. But there's a very interesting story that came out yesterday. And I think we know, look, there's a lot of college football coaches that enjoy playing golf. We, when we have the Regions tournament here, we love getting to see them out on the course, but also, kind of evaluating their swings and, okay, you look like maybe you're not on the golf course a whole lot, which I think a lot of fans would say would be the preference because, what are you laughing at, Damien?
Man, I know where this is going.
Oh, you know where this is going? Well, there is one coach in the SEC who appears to be taking his golf game very seriously. And we'll tell you who it is and why that might be a problem next on Jox. 618, welcome back in to Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien here with you on your Thursday morning. Appreciate you tuning in to us. You can text into the program, 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line if you have any thoughts on the NBA draft from last night, where you want to see Janai Broom or Mark Sears or Grant Nelson land today in round 2. And I think we might be, have some people that want to weigh in on something that we have to discuss here in just a moment. And so, do you have a lucky number, Damien?
Yes.
What is it?
6.
I think today that my lucky number is going to be 83.
Why is that? Wes Welker? You a big Wes Welker guy?
I do love Wes Welker. He was an animal in New England. But no, I'm thinking more. I just have a question. Okay, what do you think is lower right now? Auburn's recruiting ranking or Hugh Freeze's score on the golf course last time he played 18 holes? Because the recruiting ranking is 83.
I'm going to say Coach Freeze's golf outing is technically lower. At least that's what I'm hoping for, I think.
So you think he's probably pretty good at golf?
I think he's got a lot of downtime. I think he probably picks up a nice little nice little 18 somewhere.
Yeah, of course. Well, hey, look, there's a lot of college football coaches that I'm sure love to pick up the sticks from time to time and go head out onto the links. But there is a very interesting story that was actually written up by Michael Casagrande of AL.com yesterday. And if you may have heard him yesterday, he was on with Paul talking about it. But I guess this idea for his story originated from an Auburn message board, which, as we know, on these message boards, you've got to, you take things that you see with a grain of salt. But sometimes there are people that really, this means a lot to these people, and they will take the time to really dig into the weeds of certain things. And every now and then they'll actually find something quite interesting. And that's exactly what happened earlier this week. So this, according to Michael Casagrande, this came from the Auburn live message boards on 3 earlier this week. And this is a post that was originated by someone by the name of Johnny Barn earlier this week. And essentially what this person had done is they went and dug through the USGA database, which is the United States Golf Association database, and they found where there are people that will go in and register essentially their handicap. And so every time they play a round of golf, they will go in and they will enter what their score is. And that's how they keep track of their handicap. And this person found that one SEC head coach had played 10 rounds of golf in the first 20 days of the month of June. And that coach was one Hugh Freeze. And again, okay, you may say, oh, okay, well, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's June, it's the summer. Like, there's a lot of people that are playing golf right now, surely. But when you are in the middle of, I guess, the final stretch, the final push of this recruiting cycle, this recruiting period right now, because right now you are in the dead period. And so right now, if you want to go play golf, I think a lot of people would really not bat an eye at that, right? Because you can't, you're very handcuffed in terms of recruiting what you're capable of doing right now. But I know, for example, this past weekend, right? And when we came on the air on Monday and we were sharing some of the recruiting news, and, you're talking about Alabama and, you had 3 or 4 or 5 different 5-star kids on campus this weekend, and you had Nick Saban coming in and meeting with recruits and sitting down with them and talking to them. And you have all of these different things going on. And then at Auburn, you're man, kind of heard crickets this week and what's going on. And you start to hear things like, well, maybe Hugh Freeze isn't, was a little busy. And then you see this and you go, well, maybe he's busy on the golf course. And again, I'm not saying, and none of this is meant to say that Hugh Freeze is a bad coach because he's played a lot of golf in June. It's just more of the idea of it just continues to add on to the idea that this is a make or break season for Auburn. Recruiting is not where you want it to be right now. And admittedly, it's not for Alabama either. But you're talking about an Alabama program that's around 33 in recruiting versus an Auburn program that's 83 in recruiting after being in the top 10 the last 2 years. Now, a lot of things are going to change. Is Auburn going to finish with the 83rd best recruiting class? No, they're not. They're going to be significantly better off than that when all is said and done. But it certainly doesn't look great right now when you are you're in the middle of an off season that is absolutely make or break for Hugh Freeze and this Auburn football program. And it's just one of those things that you can easily draw to. And I promise you this, you can sit here and be like, oh, well, here goes the Alabama person trying to bring up Hugh Freeze playing golf, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. If you think this is nothing, have at it. But Auburn struggles at any point this season. You don't think this is what everyone's going to flock to of, well, maybe if he hadn't been playing golf half the offseason, this wouldn't have happened. Again, you can think it's dumb now, perfectly fine. But Auburn hits a bump in the road during the season. This is the kind of thing that comes up and people rally around and go, what the hell is going on with my football program? So to be fair, the person on the Auburn message boards, they did find that there are a number of SEC coaches that had entered their handicaps. And so, again, there's a lot of these guys playing golf. But Hugh Freeze certainly had the most entries. So that was what really stood out, is that he had played 10 rounds of golf between June the 1st and June the 20th. And that was in a very critical time period for Auburn recruiting. Of course, as we know, you've lost 3 recruits in that period. You've lost 2 of them in the last 3 or 4 days. And again, a lot of these things could change. I'm not saying that he wasn't working at all. Obviously, he was working on recruiting, working with the program. It just maybe, it's just one of those things from the outside looking in. It doesn't give the best optics right now.
Right, and that's what it is. The optics just don't look great when you've had 2 losing seasons back to back. And again, everybody's entitled to. You got some time off, and you got some time off. Go do what you want to do.
Mhm.
But it just seems as though that you trying to, with all the pressure that that you're having in year 3, it kind of just, like you said, it just gives you that sense of, could you dial it back just a little bit? Not asking you to, just to, but 10 rounds in 20 days, it's like, oh, you are pretty committed. Like, you got some time on your hands. Maybe you dwindle that down to about 5 or so in 20 days. Like, it just cut it in half. Like, if you got a Friday and Saturday on the weekend, fine, so be it. But during the week, you got to, shake the hands and kiss the babies and try to get some guys on that recruiting trail, because when you're battling with, the northern Illinois and Charlottes of the world, it's kind of it makes you sweat a little bit.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, with the database and the information, like, it doesn't tell you the exact day that the stuff is put in, right? So it's not like we can go back through and chart out exactly, all right, on these specific days were the days that he was playing golf. But I just think, again, when you go back and you look at, you lost 2 big recruits in the past week. Now you're in the dead period, and you're going to have people that, again, we don't know what exactly his schedule looked like. But you're going to go, okay, so you couldn't have held off on some of those rounds maybe for another week for the dead period when, again, like I said, I don't think anyone's going to bat an eye if you're playing golf. But, when these come out in conjunction with, Auburn's losing some recruits, it's like, okay, well, maybe if we had, put a little more of a focus on this or made a little more of a priority, that wouldn't happen. Now, I'm not, maybe it would have happened regardless. But, again, it's about the optics at this point, and anything – that, or the last thing that Auburn needs is a distraction, and for there to be a sentiment that the head coach isn't 100% bought in, and this, that, and the other. Again, I don't think that's the case, but it just doesn't look super great from the outside looking in. So some of you chiming in with thoughts on the Courtesy GMC text line 205-834-9450. We see you on the phone lines as well, 1-800-239 WJOX if you want to chime in there, and we will get your thoughts on Hugh Freeze. Is this a big nothing burger with the Hugh Freeze golf golf numbers, or is this something that concerns you as an Auburn fan? We'll dive into all that and your reaction next here on Morning Jox. 6:34. Welcome into Morning Jocks here on a rainy Thursday in the Birmingham metropolitan area. But appreciate you being with us. Just make sure that you stay weather aware. And if you're just now joining us, we've been having a fun little conversation here about a story written by Michael Casagrande of AL.com yesterday. And it kind of goes into a deep dive into some golf outings for one Hugh Freeze and the frequency of which those golf outings have occurred, particularly here in the month of June, as Auburn has notably struggled on the recruiting trail. And some of you have decided to chime in on both the phone lines as well as the text line. So 205-834-9450 if you want to weigh in. And let's go to the phone lines quickly with our resident Auburn fan, Don, the biggest Auburn fan that I know. What do you so when you hear this about Hugh Freeze and his golf game, Don, does it concern you at all, or do you think just a whole bunch of nothing?
A little bit of both, Conrad. I don't know if you guys remember, but he went on vacation last year in the summertime on the last week of the visit season. So, but Jeffrey Lee, when he was on y'all show the other day, and he was on the show last night, the recruiting show last night, they brought up a good topic. Auburn really doesn't lose anybody this year, and they're having to tell the players they don't know what kind of NIL money they're going to give them, and in my opinion, that's why they're losing these people, because they don't know what kind of budget they're going to have in December. I mean, does that make any sense at all to you guys?
You mean because of the House settlement, or because they don't know if they're going to be able to hit the $20.5 million? You know, in what way do you mean that?
No. You know, the NIL budget for this year is, I believe, is right around $21 million. Okay.
Yeah.
And they really can't tell. Like, just use Poodle for example, that decommitted the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They can't promise any player what they're going to give them if they sign with Auburn. Is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
So you basically tell me that Auburn's fighting to get money? Like they ain't got no money? Are you calling Auburn broke?
Well, no, Damien. I'm saying that they're paying everybody like Singleton and Coleman and Jackson Arnold and all that a couple of $1 million apiece. And
so y'all can't buy this class. Y'all actually have to give them scholarships. That's what you're saying. Like they actually have to. They got to play school.
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why. Okay, now it makes sense. Oh yeah, it ain't a golf problem then. It's straight money. Dang.
No.
I thought y'all had Texas A&M type money.
No, I'm not saying that at all. He doesn't need to be playing golf when it's recruiting season. No, I agree. But Conrad, if you read that message board, everything, those people are crazy on that Auburn on 3 message board, son. I mean, they hate me. They hate me, Conrad.
Well, you're the reasonable Auburn fan, Don.
They make fun of me on that board all the time, and Conrad, it's bad. They make fun of me for being friends with you and Pat.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sure they love me on that message board. I'm sure they have very nice things to say about our show.
Well, I mean, to me, I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure you don't. Those people are idiots, Conrad. Okay.
Hey.
So how do you think hearing that the fan base is tearing itself apart from the inside makes me want to be an Auburn fan?
That's true, Don. The biggest this could be bad for Damien's recruitment.
This is negative recruiting.
This is bad.
So y'all hate each other. Y'all hate each other, but y'all cheer for the same team.
It's ridiculous. Damien, I understand what you're saying. It's ridiculous. It really is.
But if you were to pick a team to root for based on which coach is most likely to play golf with you, then maybe you could be an Auburn fan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Conrad, you play golf. Maybe you can play in a pro-am with Hugh.
Oh, that would be great. I think he's significantly better than me still. I'm not very good, but no, it's all fun and games.
It was great Conrad, it was great seeing you guys last night. That Edge is a beautiful place, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, it was awesome. We appreciated you and the rest of the gang coming out there last night, Don. But yeah, no, it was a nice time.
All right, guys. Thank y'all very much, guys.
Yep, appreciate you, Don. Thank you for chiming in with some of his thoughts on Auburn. So, but yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the week. You're in a situation now where you have spent a lot of money on the roster for this year. You have gone all in on this year if you're Auburn. And, I guess now the question just becomes, okay, let's say that Auburn let's say they win 9 games this year, right? I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. What then does it look like? I know you got a lot of young guys that will be able to come back for another year, but then what does it look like? Are you putting all your eggs in one basket for this year while potentially sacrificing maybe what comes in the next couple of years because
Right.
you're putting everything into this year financially, and then you're going to have to retool and reload a little bit.
Yeah. But no, I get exactly what Don was saying as far as, they're trying to maintain the roster that they already have.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
like you said, I guess you say a consequence is you're not going to be able to afford some of the cream of the crop as far as when it comes to recruiting. That's probably why the numbers are so low because, again, you just got to – there's just no magic button that has, $1 billion in it, so you kind of have to just work with what you got.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of the other programs obviously are saying, well, we don't have that problem, so yeah, why don't you come over here? Hey, if they're not sure what they're going to offer you or they don't want to offer you X number of dollars, well, we will because – we want to compete at the highest level and we have the resources to do that. And so that's going to be just one of the interesting things, as we get into this new era, I feel like, because we've talked about it as, you're going to have these programs that if they want to, they can decide, hey, maybe we're going to go all in on this year. And it's going to take us 3 or 4 years to rebuild that war chest a little bit and get back to that level. But we really think this is the one season for us to hit it big. And it seems like that's what Auburn's doing. And hopefully it, leads to success on the field this year, which then leads to them bolstering this recruiting class, and we're having a completely different conversation later in the year. But certainly a lot of interesting things going on in the recruiting world as it involves Auburn and Alabama as well. So we'll get to your text 205-834-9450. That's on the Courtesy GMC text line. A lot of you chiming in with your thoughts on Auburn, Hugh Freeze, his golf game, all of the above. We would love to hear from you, and that's exactly what we will do next here on Jox. 6:46 here on your Thursday morning jocks. Conrad and Damian with you until 7 o'clock, and we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning as they will carry on the college football playoff conversation, or just college football. I don't know why I said playoff. College football conversation in general, as we have, if you're just now joining us, spent some time this morning talking about, of course, the NBA draft last night, what you can expect today for Janai Broome, Mark Sears, Grant Nelson, and some other guys. But very interesting story coming out that, again, not saying this is damning the Auburn program for the upcoming season. It's just interesting context with what's been going on recruiting-wise, and some reports about Hugh Freeze and the amount of golf that he's played in the month of June. And some of you have certainly had some comments on that and thoughts on, is this a big deal for Auburn? Is this, are we making something out of nothing, or, is there maybe a little bit more to it? And there is actually some reason to be concerned. So let's go to the text line, 205-834-9450. We'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line. And we'll start off with Alan's text because he actually asked a very important question that I have not answered up until now. And he asks, so Conrad, what was lower, the recruiting rankings or Hugh Freeze's golf round? So according to the digging that was done on the USGA website, I think his best score, that has been recorded is actually a 78, which that's darn good.
It is.
That's really good.
It's impressive.
So to answer your question, technically, if we're going off that, Hugh Freeze's golf game is better than the recruiting because they're 83rd in recruiting according to 247. So hopefully that answers your question there, Alan. But yeah, apparently pretty good at golf. But I mean, if I had played 10 rounds in the last 3 weeks, I would think that I would have gotten better as well. But he's gotten to play a lot of golf over his career. I know he was a big fan of golfing at Liberty and was able to do that quite often there. Jamie chimes in. He says, like I said yesterday, Hugh Freeze has beat Nick Saban twice, and that is his claim to fame. He's making crazy money at Auburn, and he's enjoying it because it's not going to last long. He'll be fired by the end of the season if he makes it that long. Roll Tide. Okay. We will see about that. I also, again, if you're an Alabama fan and you really think that Hugh Freeze is a bad coach and he needs to be fired, blah, 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 all this, don't you want them to keep him? I'm just throwing that out there because I feel like there's just a lot of people out there like, oh, you're gonna have to fire your coach, and it's like if you're an Alabama fan, don't you want them to keep? Like that was always the thing with Gus, right? Is it's like we'll give you one out of every 3 or 4 years. You can have that Iron Bowl if that means that you're going to be here for the long haul because you knew that kind of had a cap on what Auburn was going to be able to accomplish, and so now it's. I just feel like there's a lot of Alabama fans that like have been taking shots at Hugh Freeze this offseason and stuff, and I get it, but I'm like, don't you want him to stick around for a while if, he's going to keep Auburn at 6-6, 5-7 type of levels? Let's see. But, all right, our buddy Hastings, he chimes in. He says, I called it last Friday. Hugh is more worried about shooting par at Willow Point than using the one final weekend push for official visits. He says, come on, I'm in sales, and he almost doubled the amount of rounds of golf that I have played in that same time period. And golf is literally the only thing that I do as a salesperson.
So, like I said, he's got time.
He's
got some downtime.
Probably some other people out there that can maybe relate to that a little bit. Let's see. We have another text coming in here. They're chiming in with, I'm an Alabama fan, but I think this is unfair to Hugh Freeze. He might be playing golf with recruits. 50 hours of leisure time in 20 days. Let his record speak for his work time. Well, and I think that's the concern, is that the record hasn't been good.
Right.
And now this is.
Yeah. And if he's playing with the recruits and they're still not committing, that's even worse. It's even worse.
Yeah. And again, to be fair, right, we look at this and there's a lot of us that, heck, I'm going to go play golf tomorrow after we get done doing, our shows for the day. Like, I'm going to go in the afternoon and play golf. There's a lot of you out there that go to work and then play golf after work or, whatever, in the mornings, and you go to work late, whatever, however you work it out. And so, again, there's nothing wrong with Hugh Freeze if he wants to go and spend his time playing golf. It's just more so the timing of it and the fact that the month of June is when he has played the most golf, and this is when recruiting has struggled the most for Auburn. I think that's kind of the correlation there. So, I mean, again, there's no way saying he can't go and play golf. It's just, if you're going to have concerns, these are the types of things that people are going to pick up on, and they're going to use as evidence of maybe why you're not having the success that you're wanting to have. Eric in Adamsville chimes in. Let's see. He says, Nick Saban did this with Alabama basketball. It's called cross-recruiting. Hugh is just looking to see if there's anybody on the golf team worth adding.
Maybe so. Find a diamond in the rough out there.
Maybe so. Ranger chimes in. That's ridiculous. They know exactly what they have to spend. This has nothing to do with money for Auburn. I tend to lean more in that degree, in that way of, I'm not saying it couldn't be a money issue, whereas, some of those resources are just used up. But I do think the idea of, we don't know how much we're going to have to offer you. No, you do know how much you have to offer you. You just may not want to offer it to that kid, and that's perfectly fine. But I will say I do find it hard to believe that at this point you would still be in a situation of, we don't know what our NIL is going to look like. Yeah, you do. It's going to be, around $14-15 million, and a large chunk of that $20.5 million cap that you're going to have now. Someone else chimes in. They say the same reason that Alabama, they say Auburn is far from broke. This is the same reason that Alabama put the Tristan Keys visit off, because Alabama doesn't know if they'll be able to afford him until December. Other teams are making promises they can't, that they know they can't keep after retaining their roster with the $21 million cap. Okay. It's kind of confusing the way that this is worded, but okay. Essentially, I guess they're saying Alabama's doing the same thing with some of their recruits that Don was saying Auburn is doing with theirs. Let's see. Somebody says, this is all a little ridiculous. What's the baseline here? If other coaches have played 6, 7, or 8 rounds in the same time period, does 10 really look that bad? Are some of the whole scores posted just 9-hole scores, which only takes 2 hours maximum a day? All fair questions to ask. From what I understand, it was 18-hole rounds. That's what you record on there. And they did say that there were other SEC coaches that had also logged scores during the month of June on there. It was just that Hugh Freeze had more than the rest of them. And I would imagine if, again, I could be completely wrong, but I'm just saying, I would imagine if you had a coach that had, let's say, 8 rounds of golf, they would have added that, as opposed to, let's say someone has 5 rounds of golf, which, who knows, maybe you're of the mindset of any golf is too much golf at this, this time of year. I don't know. But, hey, that's fair if you don't think that it's fair to hold that against Hugh Freeze. It's just, it's an interesting side note. I would put it at that. Let's see. Someone says, sounds like Hugh Freeze should be the golf coach, not the football coach. Roll Tide. Again.
He was pretty good at it.
Want him to? Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He was pretty good at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, okay. And see, Jimmy said, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Conrad, about wanting to keep Hugh Freeze. That's why I was so bummed when they got rid of Brian Harsin. Exactly. You wanted Brian Harsin to stick around forever if you're an Alabama fan. It was great. I love Brian Harsin personally. Let's see. Someone else chimes in. Is Auburn just picking up people that can beat Alabama? Hugh and Jackson Arnold seem to be just the beginning. Yeah, they have a type. Is that what we would call it?
Yeah.
Can't read that one. He says someone says Hugh Freeze is not taking recruits to the golf course. It was
somewhere else.
Correct. Let's see. Jamie chimes in. Fire Hugh Freeze right now and hire Don as the Auburn general manager. Make it happen.
I'll pass.
Someone says, JP says, think about how much golf he would have played if it wasn't raining every day. This is even more impressive now. Someone says, Auburn is too comfortable of a place for head coaches. And then someone else says, this sounds like my wife when I mow the yard on her time frame. Move on to real sports, not gossip. Well, we did. We talked about the NBA draft and Major League Baseball because that's all that's going on right now. Appreciate you joining us. We're back tomorrow at 6. Mac and Cube is next.